Welcome back to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I'm Kyra. All right, I'm excited to welcome Amanda to the show. Welcome, Amanda.
Hi, hello. I'm so happy to be here. Woohoo!
Yes, I'm happy to have you. And I'd like for us to get started by having you tell our audience listening or watching who you are and what you do.
Okay, my name is Amanda Solomon. I'm known by many as the Soulmate Ready Coach. Ah, that's a lot of words. But what I do is I work with Christian, faith-based singles in preparation for love and kingdom marriage.
Awesome. Now, I'm pretty sure people hear soulmate ready and they're like, what does that mean? So, can you talk about like when you say be soulmate ready? What does that mean, Amanda?
Be soulmate ready. Just in general, be soulmate ready. I have to kind of like give a little backstory with that, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
How I came about this is from the many toxic relationships that I had over the years and just kept having them. They were like on repeat. And I couldn't figure out, well, what's the deal here? Because I really wanted a genuine relationship. That's where I was coming from. But everybody that I bumped into, every guy, apparently that's not what he wanted. So as a believer, when I became saved, the Lord just kind of sat me down and it's like, if you want a genuine relationship, you have to be in preparation for it. Let me give that to you. And he titled it Be Soulmate Ready. So you're wanting to be ready for your soulmate and not just any other relationship. You are specific, you are focus minded. And that's where Be Soulmate Ready came from.
Awesome. I love that. I love that, that was something that God sent to you specifically.
Yes.
Because I think we talked when we met earlier about we were just talking about our businesses, and I said this a similar story about like from God telling me to like glow up and start this to even hearing like with the podcast, like start the podcast. And it's like
Yes.
it's so different when you're called to it.
Exactly, that part. Yeah, I didn't see, coaching has been around for years. I've been doing this coaching for over 10 years, so that's my story. But even before then, it's just been around for a long time. But
Mhm.
I didn't see anybody doing what I do. I never heard, so when the Lord brought that to me, I was like, you know, are you serious? What is this be soulmate ready? But as I stepped into it, Kyra, it made sense. It made total sense. Why are you looking and doing all this and trying to be with that and da 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 and all that other? Get focused. If this is what you want, if you want a serious relationship, you want to be with the right person, then position yourself for that. So, that's where I'm coming from.
Awesome. Now, when you think about relationships, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that people face?
I used to think that it was communication. I would go around preaching that the biggest challenge was communication in a relationship. I've changed that. I've grown. I think now just getting into the wrong relationship is the challenge. You having the mindset that you are not worthy of love or that
Mhm,
you're just willing to accept anybody,
mhm,
and just stepping into that relationship and not taking the time. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but not taking the time to be the person that you need to be so that you can
mm,
step into the right relationship. So it's no longer communication.
mhm.
It's now you purposefully stepping into the
Yes.
right relationship. That's the biggest challenge to me. Everybody just getting into whatever kind of relationship
Mhm.
just because you don't want to be lonely.
Right. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that's the challenge
Yes.
to me.
And so, and when you were just saying that, you mentioned something that leads me into the next question. I know you are a big believer in looking inward, taking that self inventory, like being honest with yourself, and really doing that inner work before getting into that new relationship. So
Yeah.
why, I mean, you kind of touched on it, but can you elaborate more to why that's so important?
Yeah, that's huge, Kyra, because every relationship that you get into, you walk away with something.
Mm,
good, bad, or indifferent. And
mhm,
a lot of times it's baggage.
mhm.
And before you jump into another relationship, you definitely want to take care of that baggage. First of all, you want to admit that you have baggage. You you know, a lot of times we don't feel like we have baggage. We feel like we can just step into the next relationship, or whatever happened in that past relationship was his fault. It was all his fault, and we don't want to take accountability. But I teach taking accountability, doing the inner work, checking yourself to make sure that you're together, checking off
Yeah,
all the boxes,
yeah.
that you've grown, that you're accepting responsibility for
Mhm.
some of the things that transpired in that relationship. And usually it's the wrong relationship. Back to the other question. It's usually the wrong relationship. He's not for you. He actually belongs to somebody else. And you're in a relationship with that belongs to somebody else. And so hence the problem. But yeah, it's about doing that inner work before you step into another relationship. And in this case, your soulmate, your God sent relationship, the Lord wants you to get you together.
Mhm.
He can't even send that person until you've checked all the boxes for yourself, so that it makes it easy for him to present you as
Mhm.
his queen.
Yes. I think that's really important for people because like you said, so many people just jump from relationship to relationship because they don't want to be alone, and then
Exactly.
they're never willing to do the work of like, what role did I play? Like you
Exactly.
said, what role am I playing in this? If it's like you, maybe like it is when you get to that level, maybe it is like, oh, I'm not a great communicator,
Right.
or and I need to work on that, as
Exactly.
opposed to just being like, I don't know, they all crazy.
Right.
It wasn't me, he was just crazy.
That part.
you know
Yes.
so I think, yeah, I agree with you. I think that is definitely really important, and it's like when you're willing to do the work.
Yeah.
And I think there's just also something too about just like a person like being able to like be in love with yourself,
Exactly. Exactly.
and loving you, and being comfortable being alone, because
Yes.
that seems to be the thing that so many people really struggle with, is that
Yes.
being alone, like, well, I want to be myself.
Right. Right.
Or you hear people say things like, well, they're a certain age, and this was like in a show, it was like a show that my husband and I were watching, and there was this girl, I think she was like 28, and she was like complaining about being single. She's like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna be single forever because I'm 28." And blah. And I was like, that is so,
28.
yeah. And I thought like that was so crazy to me because now I say that, y'all listening, watching, I got married at 28.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
I got married at 28, but I never thought I would be married at 28. So, me,
Okay.
I said, for myself, I was like, I don't want to be married to somebody until I'm like 35, because I wanted to work on me. I wanted to focus on making sure that like I had everything, had all my stuff together before I
Right.
came to somebody else. But God had a different plan. He was like,
He
nope.
did.
No, you're gonna get this man right here. And then,
Right.
and we kind of grew together, right? Like we kind
Okay.
of grew up like at the same time. And my husband was like a lot of firsts in my life. So it was just like, oh wow, like, oh, this is how this goes. Oh, and
Right.
then I just remember him always say, he was like, oh my God, like, did you just only watch like like romantic movies growing up? You think like life is a fairy tale? And I was like, well, in the movie, this is not how it goes.
Oh, and you did not say that at any time, did
I did say it, I was laughing, I was like, but in the movie, like, it didn't like, he was like, "No, you're not in," he's like, "You're not in the movie, this is real life."
how
And so
funny. How funny.
and it's just so funny because like that is sort of like the view that I had as I was growing up. Like I
Yes.
always like watched movies and I saw like relationships, and plus too, like I mentioned, I wasn't like looking. I wasn't out there
Right.
looking for anybody. I was fine with being by myself because I loved my life, and I was like, I got the Lord, we good. And so and I was just like, and I felt like when it happened, it would happen.
Right. Right.
But on the other side of that, and I get that, and this is another area that you help women with, is just that feeling of saying, like, well, Lord, because not everybody is saying, well, God, I'm fine by myself.
Right.
Some people are saying, Lord, why is it taking so long?
Yeah. Exactly. And you know, what I say to that is I want them to look at being single as an opportunity,
Mhm.
not a something else,
Yeah, it's not a burden to
not a
be, yeah,
bad thing.
yeah, to
You
be
know, God
single.
is, He loves you. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I want them to look at it as an opportunity to get yourself together,
Hmm.
you know, to
Yeah.
do you.
Yeah.
And then let him, don't worry about anything else. Just get yourself in the mindset of let me do me. Let me
Mhm.
get myself together. And I find that when my clients do that, when they just make that mental adjustment
Mhm.
and start focusing on getting themselves together, that other kind of disappears. It goes away. You know, the whole when is he coming and how
Mhm.
long is this going to take and, you know,
Yeah.
all of that. That starts to
Yeah.
dissipate when your
Yeah.
focus is, let me do me, you know, so
Yes.
that I can be ready,
Yes.
you know, for the Lord to send that person into my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah,
So,
because
yeah,
it's also too like get to date yourself. So you know what like
exactly.
what you enjoy
Yes.
doing. And
Instead of waiting,
yeah.
you know, right, "Oh,
Yes.
when I get married, I'm
Yeah.
gonna do XYZ.
Yeah.
Da 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 da." Why don't you
Yeah.
do that now? You
Yeah.
know? Do
Yes.
some of that now. Buy yourself a gift,
Exactly. Yeah.
get yourself some flowers, do
Yeah.
whatever you're going to do now.
Mhm.
Just kind of on a side note, in terms of doing whatever you're going to do now, I did something very crazy. I took a skydiving trip. So that was something on my bucket list.
Yeah.
And some of the ladies, we got together and we went to one of the local places and I jumped out of a plane.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'm so happy to be here today because I thought I was going to die. But
I mean,
yeah,
I was like, I'm on that adrenaline rush. I'm gonna
yeah.
jump out this plane.
But I wasn't really for real, because
Yeah.
when we had 1 hour of training, watching a video when we got
Mhm.
there, and they buckled us all up in the harness thing, and of course, I had the guy on my back, so I wasn't by myself. But when it came time to jumping out that plane, girl, no,
You were like,
no. Yeah, I started crying, going through all the changes.
oh my gosh. Well,
But
look,
no, just bringing it back around. Just do you.
yeah.
Do you. Do whatever your heart desires and, travel or whatever. You don't have to wait for the
Yeah,
person into
and
your
if
life.
you're yeah, if you're fearful of like jumping out skydiving, you do something as simple as take yourself to a movie. Go to a movie alone.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah,
Yes.
because I know I hear so many people and they're like, I mean, I don't want to be in a movie, but I'm like, well, first of all, it's not like you actually really talking anyway. I
Right.
mean, the movie's on. So
Exactly.
I'm like, I love to go to the movies by myself.
Me
Like
too.
whenever there's like a moment where I can like, if there's something that like I want to see and my husband doesn't want to see it, and I
Yes.
tell like this is like well, yeah, this is a secret because he still doesn't.
Uh-oh.
But
Uh,
there was like many years, probably 7 years ago now. But there was a movie. I just honestly didn't think he wanted to see the movie because it was more of like it was a based on a
like,
book. It was that
oh.
movie Gone Girl, and I read the book, and I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to see this. And
Oh,
I said, oh man, he's probably not gonna want to see this because like another movie came out too that weekend, and I thought he would probably want to pick that. And so that Saturday when he went to work, I said, you know what? I'm gonna take myself to the movies. So
yes.
I got up and I went to like a 12 o'clock movie and saw the movie and I came, I got back home and then he called. He's like, oh yeah, he's like, you want to catch a movie tonight? And I was like,
Oh,
oh yeah, sure.
oh,
And so as when he gets here, he's like, that movie with I don't know about the girl being gone or something. And I chuckled because I was
because
like,
you had already seen it. You
but I
already went.
didn't say a word. I went right back in there like it was the first time that I'd ever seen it and just watched that thing and smiled. Yeah, this is so
There you
good.
go.
Good. This is
There you
great.
go. I
But
love it.
like but I did tell him, I said, no, but there are sometimes I said, but if there's something like you don't want to see and I want to see it, like it's totally fine. You can say that and I can just go to a date, like a matinee. when you
Yes.
go to work or
Yeah.
something, and I can catch that. And yeah, but it's just like having those moments of just kind of understanding like what
Right.
isn't, what's important, what do you enjoy? Because even when you get in a relationship with someone, it's still going to be important that you still have like that piece of yourself
Yourself,
and
exactly.
those things that like you enjoy doing. Because I know sometimes people get so, like, I've seen a lot of times where people just get so wrapped up they almost just become their spouse.
Ex that yes. Yes, which is a big no-no.
Yeah. I'm like, wait, y'all the same people now? I
Right,
mean,
no.
do you do
That's the
anything?
attraction, 2
Yeah.
people coming together, 2 opposites attracting, like they
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
But you gotta have some camaraderie in there somewhere, but
Yeah.
bring something to the table.
Yeah. I'm like, I mean, do y'all like, I mean, every time we go, gotta go too? I mean,
Right.
because if your like spouse is showing up at the girls' nights, it's like, no, no.
Uh,
I mean, there's something wrong with this picture.
no.
There's always something wrong with a picture of like the spouse that wants to be like and always in the girl's business.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Yes.
"Mm, that's not your
Yes.
business. This was girl talk."
This
So,
is girl
yeah.
talk. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation, Kyra, because in my marriage, well, I was only married one time, married and divorced and in many relationships, but that was a hard pill for me to swallow that I needed to maintain my own identity.
Mhm.
That was crazy for me, and
Yeah.
he had to tell me, "Do your own thing, go out sometime." And I hated him for that.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, "Why are you telling me that? Do you not love me? You don't wanna be around me?" I just could totally went in the opposite direction,
Yeah.
and that wasn't it at all. It was
Yeah.
I needed to maintain
Yeah.
my own identity in the
Yeah.
relationship, something as simple as that.
Yeah, yeah, it's just important. But yeah, I think, I think there are lessons, right, that come and then people, but I definitely think like I'm grateful that I have been able to always sort of like maintain who I am, my
That's good.
individuality. Because I was thinking, I said, oh man, like next month we will have been together for 25, it'll be 25 years.
You better close your mouth.
25,
What?
25 years?
25?
Yes.
What were you, 12? When
Nope.
you
Nope.
25? Oh, that's what? No,
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
believe
It'll
that.
be
Okay,
20, yeah, it'll be 25 years to get like, when we first started
just
dating,
totally
the
right.
total years. Yeah. And I think
That's a
in
long time.
June it will be, I think we'll be at 19 years married. So yeah, I'm like, I know I have to tell Lord, I'm like, oh, I thank you, God, because
Wow.
okay.
And the same person,
The same
the
person.
same person. You've been truly now see, that's what I'm talking about.
I said
Kingdom marriage.
the
That's what
Lord.
I'm talking about. See, that's the difference. I'm a firm believer of that. That's the difference. I call you guys power couples.
Yeah, I say the Lord. I
Yes.
said, I said,
Yes.
I said, it has definitely been the Lord and His ring because, I mean, with
You had to
any,
learn.
yes,
Mhm.
yes, that is definitely the key word is that
Mhm.
you have to be willing to compromise, and
Yes.
you have to be willing to sacrifice
Yes.
because it's
Yes.
not. I mean, it's not always like equal parts. It
Yes.
is sometimes it is another person giving more. I remember a cousin of mine saying to me before I got married, and I thought it was so funny. She said, look, the one thing is, she said, you're not always like in love, you love them. She
Right.
said, you're always going to love them. She said, but one thing, she said, and there may be moments where one person is more in love than the other person. And she
That's
said,
right.
but don't ever, as long as you both never fall out of love at the same time.
Oh,
And at the time, I didn't understand. Like she was telling me that. And I was like, I don't have a boyfriend. I don't even know what you're talking about, girl. And then when I got married,
I
and then
love that.
it became like real life because I said,
Yes.
"Oh my gosh, you're right." Because there were times where I was just like, "Huh, like I love you." But
Mhm.
right now, I ain't in love with you because you are making me, I want to fight you. And then I know there were moments for him where he was like,
Yeah,
I love you, but you make me
but
want to fight you.
right, right, right.
But the important thing was that like we never at the same time, but somebody's love is always stronger and holding you together.
Wow. I
It's
love that. I
yeah.
absolutely love that. I've never heard it before, but it makes so
Yeah.
much, it's truth. You
Yeah.
know, she spoke
Yeah.
truth and she planted
She's
that seed.
She did because I
She planted
always,
that seed
yeah,
of truth.
and I have carried that with me for
Oh
all
my,
these years, and I always go back and think about that because you're different. I mean, everybody, you're always evolving and you're
that's
always
true.
growing and
That's true.
becoming you're becoming different people.
Exactly.
And I even think like for myself, even with me in the transformation of like who I am now, I mean, like, yeah, I've kind of come a full circle
Mhm,
personality. Whereas
mhm.
like when I first when I was younger, I was a lot shyer, I was more quiet. I mean, I'm still like, I mean, to people who don't know me, I still am kind of reserved where I like to I observe. I'm very
Yes.
observant, so I don't always come
Yes.
in a room talking. I know
Okay.
y'all probably listen to this show and say, okay, but that's different. But
You
like,
grew.
yeah. And so, and I just, and then you become more vocal. Cause I remember
Yes.
like when I started going to therapy, then I was becoming more like adamant about boundaries,
Yeah.
adamant about my say so and my voice being heard. And it was
Yes.
different for him, you know? So after he was
Yes.
like, he was like, who are you? I mean, I just remember like the conversation. He was like, I mean, my God, it's like, I mean, you've gone to therapy and now it's like you're a different person. And I said, no, no,
Same person.
I'm an evolved person.
Yes.
And I said, so
Yes.
and I just said, here's what we need to do. We just need to
Yes.
sit down and like talk about that because
Yeah.
I don't plan on like not evolving.
Oh,
I said, because
yes.
when you stop evolving and growing, you may as well die.
You die. That's it. That
And
part.
I said, and
Yes.
so it doesn't make me different as to the person I am for you and being your wife and the love and all of that. I said,
It's
it
better.
just me, yeah, I
Yeah.
said it just means that like, yeah, I'm just seeing things differently and I'm growing. I'm trying to be a better version of myself.
Exactly.
And I said, and you're doing that in your way.
Yes.
You do it doesn't look I said it doesn't look the same. It
It
doesn't
doesn't
have
look,
to look the
yes.
same. So
Yes.
yeah, so we have to have, we have to have those conversations
Yes. Yes.
as we grow.
Did he end up going to counseling as well? Or
Now
he
he
just kind of counseled off of you?
yeah, he was like
Uh-huh.
yeah, the counsel off of me.
Uh-huh.
And
Ex
so, and I said, it's up to you. Because even when I
Yeah,
said I was like, now I'm not trying to tell I'm telling you this is what I'm gonna do. Because I went because
exactly.
I wanted to go and I needed it.
Yes.
And I said, and I'm always willing to share tools and tips with you. But
Yes.
what I can't be is your coach. I'm not gonna be your therapist.
That was
So
good.
I
That
said,
was good.
that's no, that's not, because you need that. And then he said, well, I talk to God and I'm praying. Okay. Well, then if God is your therapist,
Right.
well, let God be your therapist
Right.
until,
So be it.
he sends you an angel on earth to be yours. I said,
Yeah.
he has sent one to me that
Yes.
works for me. And I'm going to keep doing that. And then we'll see if he sends one for you. I said, but
Yes.
you got to do what feels right to you.
Wow. That's powerful. That's
So,
powerful. Maintaining that individuality. That's
yes.
powerful.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
blessed me.
Well, we bless each other here.
Yes.
So you were talking about kingdom marriage, and so how is it different from other marriages?
For me, and the reason I specify that way is because that goes back to just going and picking and choosing on your own. You getting into your own relationship thinking that that's the one,
Mhm.
or you seeking, or he's cute, let me get with him. You know, it's all about you,
Yeah.
and hooking up with somebody in marriage. And I say this coming from experience. This is
Mhm.
personal. Everything I'm talking about is from personal
Right.
experience.
Yeah.
That was me. I got married because I was tired of being alone. It was taking too long. All the things. And that's why I put just regular marriage in that category,
Mhm.
because you have to be very careful that it's not you. You don't have an ulterior motive
Right.
for
Yeah.
getting married. I had an ulterior motive. Underneath it all, I just didn't want to be alone. That was
Mhm.
my ulterior motive. And I think I had some other things going on too at that time. But that's why I separate just regular marriage from kingdom marriage. Kingdom marriage is what you have, something that is ordained by God, something that, the Lord has helped those two people, those individuals get themselves together, hence me and the calling that's on my life to help you to
Mhm.
get yourself together before he brings the two of you together. He has a purpose for that marriage to serve the kingdom in whatever kind of way. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a church or
Mhm.
anything like that. It could be any kind of ministry. This podcast is a ministry.
Mhm.
So he has purpose for
Mhm.
that relationship. It's not just out there, as
Yeah.
with I see the other marriage is just there. It's
Mhm.
something you got yourself into, and that's what you doing. But over here, it's purposeful.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
kingdom marriage is purposeful. So that's how I separate the two, coming
Mhm.
from a place of experience.
Yes. No, I really appreciate that. And thank you for your transparency because I think sometimes people, like, it doesn't always feel good to hear it. But
Yeah.
if you can get the word and you can get the advice, the guidance now before you step into something. And I think it
Yes.
is important to to pray ahead of time for the right partner in your life.
Exactly. Mhm.
And to and I will say, because I'm doing this now for my sister, she gonna be mad at me for but
Uh-oh.
I
You putting
always
her on blast?
I always tell her this anyway. And she was like, "What?" I said, "Oh yeah, I pray for God to send you the right partner, the one that He
Yes.
has chosen for you."
Ye
I said, because life is hard enough as it is. And then
yes.
when you add another person into that, like, you want to make sure that it's the person that he sent for you and not
Yes.
just some scrub on the street that you gotta be like behind them talking about, well, can I get you to pray?
Wait.
Can I get you to do
Oh,
this? And I
yes.
said, and you won't even have to go through that. So
Exactly.
you just have to be patient. You have to
Yes.
wait. You have to wait patiently. You have to read the word. And I tell people I love Prayers That Avails Much. I have that book. The back cover is off. Like, I be piecing my book together every morning just to read my prayers. But
It's
they have different prayers in there for, like, single people who are seeking
mm.
their
Mhm.
partner. I mean, so if
Mhm.
you don't know the words to say, you're thinking, I want to pray about it, but I don't know the words. I
Oh,
mean,
that's good.
also just your honest, like, conversation with God. Like, that's how
Yes.
I speak to him. Like, look, Lord, you know me.
Right. Yes. Not the these, the those, and the theys.
Right?
It's just
'Cause
straight, just
yeah,
straight.
I'm like, but sometimes I know you probably be like, fit to be tired with me, Lord, because I be coming talking, Lord, let me tell you, okay, here,
Oh,
this where we at today.
right, right.
And I know he'd be like, but I always remember that, look, well, he made me and he gave me
Right.
this personality. So
Yes.
he already knew how I was gonna come to him.
Exactly, exactly. See, Imma can't help it. It's like I need you all the time. All every minute, every second of every
Right?
hour, every day.
Yes. I'm like,
All the time. I can't make it. So,
like,
yeah, I'm in his face all the
yeah, I'm
time.
like, you already knew. You knew I was coming. And when you think some of your head, like I always do, when I think, I'm like, all right, I said it out loud because I had already thought it. So
Might as
let's
well.
we gonna start here with me saying it, and then me later on, maybe if I said something wrong, repenting for
Right.
before I go to bed tonight. I'm not gonna do it now. I'm like, I ain't gonna do it now because I know I'm gonna say something else crazy before the end.
I love that. But see, that's a real relationship, Kyra. That's a
Yeah,
real relation. That's a real
yeah,
relationship.
because
That's what he honors.
yeah, because I'd be like,
Forget all
look,
that fake stuff.
yeah, I'm like, I ain't gonna play with you, right?
See? That part. Girl.
Yeah, and I say I ain't even.
See, that's that
Yeah,
though. He
So
already knows.
yes, so yeah, so I definitely really have appreciated all the insights. First of all, like I said, just appreciate your transparency in your journey, because some people aren't able to tell the story and to say, like, this was my part in it. So I
Thank
want to commend you for that, and just
you.
for that openness and willing to share and help the next woman find her man and her partner, to her partner in life, to like, so
Yeah,
they can have a blessed marriage, and they
exactly.
can and they can live together as equal partners, and in
Yes.
life, on the journey of trying to be better and just have a good life.
Together. It took
Yeah.
a minute to get here, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
A lot of tears, a lot. It took a minute, but it's necessary, it's necessary to be candid, to be
Mhm.
honest, as you just shared, to be able to help somebody else. I can't help anybody if I'm gonna act, behind a wall, or
Mhm.
I'm polyester princess that nothing's ever happened to.
Yeah.
No, let's keep it real.
Yeah.
People want to know you as a real person. They want to be able to relate to you. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's what other questions you got about for me to be real? I'm there. I can do that today. I wasn't able to do it before, but I can do it today if it's going to bless somebody else.
Awesome. I appreciate that. So
Thank you.
now I would like for you to tell us a couple of things. So I believe you have a special offer for this community today that you're going to tell us about, and then also let people know how they can connect to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Yeah, I have a God-inspired, truly it was, to where he just, gave this to me because I wanted to give a gift that was, again, purposeful, a gift that wasn't just, just something else. I'm sure your listeners have seen free gifts all over the internet, and here's this and there's that. But I wanted to give something that really, really had meaning to it.
Mhm.
And the Spirit of the Lord gave me the Soulmate Ready checklist.
Mhm.
And what it is when you say that you're ready to meet your soulmate, you're ready to be in that kingdom marriage, are you really? That's the
Mhm.
question that I want to ask. So this checklist is something that you can dive into. It's just a little, checklist, a little one-page checklist, but the questions that I'm asking you there, actually, this checklist is coming out of an ebook that I have. And he asked me to take that from the ebook and offer it as a standalone checklist.
Mhm.
They're challenging questions. It's a time for you to sit and reflect and really give thought to, are you ready to be in the relationship that God has purposed for you? That's a big difference. That goes back to choosing your own or choosing his
Mhm. Mhm.
his way. So I just want to offer that. I want to be able to give that to your listeners. They can go and get it. I'm sure that you'll provide a link or something
Mhm.
for them to go to.
Mhm.
Go get that, grab it, take time with it. Don't rush through it. I don't want you to rush through it. I want you to just take your time and kind of speak to the Lord about it as you're going through it and
Mhm.
answer each one of those questions because he gave them to me. And so now I'm giving them to you.
Awesome. And also, where can people connect to you as well?
Yeah, so I, YouTube.
Okay.
Go to my YouTube channel, and that is at Be Soulmate Ready TV. That's where I offer teaching, free content that is really going to bless you. I call it Watch and Grow because I don't
Mhm.
think it's a fairly new channel. I just started it being obedient to the Lord. I waited many, many years before I started a YouTube channel for all a bunch of reasons,
Mhm.
fear and all that other kind of stuff. And I just threw all that stuff out and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be obedient. So it's a new channel. Come over and help me build the channel. The content, you're going to be blessed by all of the content. I really believe that there's always a nugget, there's something for you to be able to walk away with and to seed and just to bless your life.
Awesome. Love that. All right. We'll make sure we drop all those links in the show notes for you
Awesome.
all. All
Thank
right.
you.
You're welcome. Now we're going to transition into three things with Amanda. I'm going to ask you three questions that helps our audience get to know you just a little bit better. So the first one is a two-parter. How do you start and end the day?
Mm. I start the day with what's called a millionaire morning, and then I end the day with the millionaire night,
Okay.
evening. And my millionaire morning consists of getting up. I used to get up like super duper early, like 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't do that anymore. And I
Okay.
don't restrict myself to a specific time now.
Mhm.
Although the Spirit of the Lord, I will wake up and I'll just be maybe laying there woke. And I
Mhm.
immediately go into prayer.
Okay.
That's like automatic for me. It's just a part of that relationship. So my millionaire morning is going into prayer. If the Spirit of the Lord leads me to scripture, to his word for whatever reason, then I will read whatever is given to me.
Mhm.
I don't just go and try to find something. It is imparted. And he'll say, go here. He'll go there, Jeremiah, wherever he'll tell me to go, I'll go.
Mhm.
After that, I'll get into some exercise,
Mhm.
stretching, starting with a little stretching. And then from there, warming my body up with some exercise, and then asking him to help me prepare for the day,
Mhm.
prepare my mind, my heart, the words that are coming out of my mouth. So
Mhm.
just very simply, let me be a blessing in this day
Mhm.
to someone. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be the delivery guy that's delivering my Amazon package or, the person that's bringing me my groceries if I don't go out to get them.
Yeah.
Just to be a blessing. And sometimes that's just a smile.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to even be words. So that's pretty much my morning
Mhm.
before I get started with work. And I work for myself. So, that's where I get going there. And then in the evening, it's the same. Oh, of course, I have my morning facial routines
Uh-huh.
in my my evening facial routines. And I call these millionaire mornings and evenings because these are things that are setting you up for success.
Mhm.
These are ways that position you powerfully. Very simple things, but they position you powerfully. And another, adding in there, I get dressed. Even though I work for myself, I work from
Mhm.
home, or today I'm in the office, I dress. I don't lounge around in,
Mhm.
jammies or
Mhm.
jogging clothes or whatever the case may be. I position myself because, this is my work. This is what I
Mhm.
do. I'm a professional. And so just
Mhm.
because I'm not always in front of a camera when I'm not doing videos, that doesn't mean that I slack in any
Right.
type of way. It's always that millionaire mindset.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Number two is what's a goal or intention you set for yourself this year?
Oh boy, a goal or intention. I just want to reach as many single women and now men,
Mhm.
because the Spirit of the Lord is speaking to me about bringing men in to
Mhm.
be prepared as well. So that's a new chapter that I'm opening up on the back end. Is I've actually prepared a freebie for the men,
Okay.
but I am not ready to offer it. I
Mhm.
gotta, get it all cute and everything
Mhm. Mhm.
before I can put it out there. But just to make it known, check back with me, on YouTube or even my email address, which is hello@besoulmateready.com. You can reach out to me there if any men are listening and they want to know, hey, when are you sending that? Or, or just any more information about that, reach out to me via email.
Mhm.
I just want to reach out. I'm about the Father's business. This
Mhm.
is a message that has to get out to as many of God's kids as
Mhm.
possible, his children. They
Mhm.
need to be prepared for marriage. They need to get ready. It's
Mhm.
time. It's time. and we don't want to get into relationships that he has purpose for us and mess them up because we
Right.
got this going on or that going on, or we wasn't prepared, or,
Mhm.
all of the stuff. We want to
Right.
take care of the stuff right now
Mhm. Mhm.
and then be prepared to step into what the Lord has prepared for us.
Yeah. Awesome. And the last question is, where are you currently finding inspiration?
That's a great question, Kyra. I think I find it in a little bit of everywhere.
Mhm.
I don't limit myself to where I find inspiration. It's always coming from the Lord, and it's always Him giving it in different places with
Mhm.
different people, different times. I could be walking down the street and I see something, whether it's an animal or an insect or something, and he just turns it into something that's inspiring,
Mhm.
something to bless me, or looking up and seeing the clouds in some sort of special
Mhm.
formation or something. And I'm not
Right.
trying to be all, but it's just being able to be open to find
Mhm.
inspiration anywhere. I know that it's coming from him, so
Mhm.
I don't restrict to just one thing or
Right.
one place.
Right. Yeah.
People that I talk to, you've inspired me today
Mhm.
with what
Yeah.
you've shared about
Mhm.
your marriage. That's a blessing. That's
Mhm.
inspiration. And speaking to other people, just
Mhm.
casual conversations, here around the office, I've spoke to a couple of people and just been inspired. Like,
Mhm.
oh wow, thank you for that.
Yeah.
They may not know that it's a big deal,
Right.
but
Right. Yeah.
that's
But yeah.
that's what I think, it's
Mhm.
what I take in. So, yeah, that's how I get my inspiration.
Awesome. All right. Well, my last question is, what are three things you would like the audience to take away from our conversation today?
Yes. The first thing is, ladies and gentlemen, you are worthy of love. You don't have to settle for just anybody. You don't have to settle for a lookalike. I call them lookalikes. And they always show themselves because at some point that relationship is not going to work out because God loves you so much. He wants you in the right relationship. He wants you in the one that He has chosen for you. And the second thing is the wait is over. Over. And by that, I mean it's time to turn into yourself, which is the third thing. Prepare to receive. The wait's over. You don't have to, oh gosh, I prayed. Now I'm waiting for the Lord to send my husband or my wife. You don't have to do that thing like that. It's position yourself, prepare to receive. That's the third thing, prepare to receive. And
Mhm.
as I said earlier in our conversation today, when you put your mind in that focus area, that other slips away. It starts to fade away in terms of when, who, how, and all that other kind of stuff. You
Right.
positioning yourself to prepare to receive that becomes your focus. So those are my three.
Awesome. Well, Amanda, thank you so very much for joining me today and for just again sharing your journey and how you're helping others to be soulmate ready and to find their person in life.
Thank you so much for having me, Kyra. This has really been a blessing. I've enjoyed my time with you today.
Awesome. Well, stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back.